Hello, everybody, and this is the first live stream that we're going to be doing, and hopefully more to come. So, please join us in the chat, and we're going to get started. We are going to be doing this chat on some of the stuff Joe Biden has proposed and what he's going to be proposing coming into the future. So, as you know, I believe he's doing his State of the Union address today. And, as you know, back in the 8th, he announced some stuff that he wants to be done. So, what we have going. First off, on April 8th, we heard that he's going to attack the ghost guns. Or, as you know, it's the great American way of us being able to build our own guns. So there's that. We heard David Chapman being introduced as the new head of the ATF. David Chapman, as you can look him up, Chapman was famously photographed in front of a bunch of burning bodies at Waco. He was the ATF agent who led that charge there, and he is known as a gun grabber himself. So he's definitely known for that. So he's Chipman is also the senior advisor of a gun group founded by Gabriel Gifford, who is a Democrat from Arizona. And yeah, that's enough about Chipman for right now. And let's talk about something Joe Biden has planned for his State of the Union address, where he wants to go back to the 1994 assault weapons ban, as he calls it, which is a bill that he helped pass with Bill Clinton. He wants to push back on that, and he wants to attack magazines also. Not just magazines for rifles, like you would have for your AR-15, even your nice little Remington 1022. He wants to go after even magazines such as your Glock 19. So your standard 15-round magazine with Biden would actually become limited and banned to 10 or less. And some of the wording even suggests that it actually might be less. You're looking at 8 rounds. He's even looking. So not only would your AR-15s become banned with Biden, he's looking at other ways. Now, what's interesting, this 1994 firearms ban, the assault weapons ban, that he unanimously loves to boaster about and talk about all the time. The thing about that is he likes to talk about that, yet there is nothing, and I mean nothing about that bill that has shown that it would work at all. Historically, when he had that bill active, when that was active from 1994 until 2004, there wasn't a decrease in violence. Gun violence at all. I mean, we had Columbine that happened during that, actually. And we're not even going to talk about school shootings through this. Let's remove school shootings altogether from this. Violence in general didn't go down. Gun violence in general didn't go down through this. And would it matter anyway? Because I'm going to use the Democratic term that they like to use a lot for this, which is the assault weapon. Your AR-15s, your weapons like that, are used in less than 3% of mass shootings anyway, and gun violence altogether. Handguns, shotguns, and even hunting rifles are used more than your military style civilian modern sporting rifles are. So what would this initially do is it's actually going to hurt your competitive shooters. It's going to hurt your people who like just to go out on Saturday and plink out in their backyard, out the shooting range, stuff like that. It's going to and generally hurt those people. People, like myself, for instance, not just me, but it could be your neighbor Larry down the street who literally is one of the nicest people you probably ever meet. Those are the kind of people it's going to hurt. It's not going to hurt the drug dealer on the side of the corner who's been locked up 30, 40 times. It's not going to affect those kind of people. And Biden is literally quoted saying this. He goes, "Gun violence in this country is an epidemic. It's an international embarrassment. The idea that we have so many people dying every single day from gun violence in America is a blemish on our character as a nation." Now, he said that every single day. So, every single day, he's pretty much saying that death in America is occurring every single day from firearms. So, but what cities are those happening in? So, where are those happening in? So, the number of deaths, the leading causes of deaths in the United States. Number one is heart disease. We have 659,041. Cancer, 599,601. Unintentional injury or accidents, 173,040. Chronic lower respiratory disease, 156,979. Stroke, diabetes, nephritis, influenza, intentional self-harm, or suicide. Now, the suicide, 65% of all gun violence falls into that suicide range. So 65% of that falls into that. And I'm going to link that. This data right here comes straight from the CDC, and it's going to be right there in the comments if y'all want to follow that. So, this is the fact sheet on death. That's death and mortality. We go to the leading causes of death. You have the same thing. This is 2019. And you come through here and you look. So, in that list I just named you, that's the top 10. Gun violence is not in there. Accidents include car accidents, people falling off ladders, people falling off roofs, people falling down the stairs, stuff like that. Diabetes kills more people than firearms. You have less than 40,000 people dying from firearms. The flu kills more people than firearms do. So let's look up gun deaths in the United States. So, one of the arguments like say, well, it's states with the least amount of firearm laws are the ones with the highest. Maybe statewide. That could be true statewide. But that's not the entire case. You had 39,740 deaths in 2018. And 61% of those deaths were suicides. So that's over half of the firearm deaths were suicide. So the thing about it is, when we really look at it and we break it down, one question that we hear about common sense this, common sense that, when it comes to the gun laws is where are we getting? We're getting everything really lost in the shakeup. Why are we not talking about mental health? Why are we truly not talking about mental health when it comes to these firearm laws? States are not asked to actually submit data on the mental health issue. But most of the people with the mass shootings and stuff like that are known to have that history of mental health disorders. But yet, we don't talk about it. It's almost like a stigma to hear about it. It's literally seems to be a stigma to talk about mental health and guns. People want to say, "Oh, don't blame mental health for gun violence." Yet, 61 to 65% of gun violence is suicide. You can't ignore the problem. The problem isn't an inanimate object that over half the country owns. That's not the problem. Firearms are not the problem. Nation. The firearm injury death rate in the state of Georgia is 15.8 per 100,000. Okay, so you have 15.8, right? So, wait a second. 15.8? Okay, let's go to Chicago. Firearm, 10.8 per 100,000. Homicide rate, 8.1. Very similar to Georgia. But let's break it down by city. Look at Atlanta. Look at that. Excuse me. I'm saying is to start erasing that stigma of mental health and really start addressing the issues where the issues need to be at. We can't see a shooting and be like, "Oh, let's remove this whole section, this whole hobby for half the country." I mean, you look at if you look at like you see a lot of this stuff. Like, here's one article from NPR: gun violence deaths, how the U.S. compares to the rest of the world. A lot of it comes down to like the mass shootings, but we're the 32nd highest deaths in gun violence in the world. Interestingly enough, the U.S. private sector of the U.S. owns more firearms than some of the world's militaries. So, by the logical thought that some politicians think, including Biden, by that thought process, we should be number one. We should lead the country in homicides. We should lead the world in homicides. We should lead the world in gun violence. By that logic, but we don't. We really don't. And we're 32nd. And we're a country of vast different cultures. Of vast different cultures from state to state, from different parts of the country to different parts of the country. But but the thing is, I mean, that's we literally but I mean there's parts of the world like Central America and places like that, Brazil, El Salvador, places like that that have way more gun violence than we do. Even, especially if you put it per capita of 100, per capita, because there's more people there in some places, especially Brazil. And then, the Philippines has a higher gun death rate in the United States as a whole. Thailand's right behind it, Laos. You know, you might think, well, these are third world countries. No, some of them are not third world countries. Philippines is definitely not a third world country. And the United States as a whole actually has tough gun laws. I mean, so real quick, let's go over some gun laws that we already have on the books. Okay, so we're gonna go over gun laws that we already have on the books and stuff that they say is already, stuff that's already there. Okay, so one, background checks. We already have very extensive background checks. Very extensive. The background checks that are performed from the Brady Act that was established in 1993, and then that was updated in 1998 with the NICS background check, which was instant. And so instead of having the 5-day waiting period from the Brady Act to the NICS, which was instantaneous, some states still continue the waiting period though. So what we have is a background check that covers FBI database, ATF database. It covers pretty much every database you have. Now, from that database, you will have, then it goes to the state level. From the state level, it covers everything there. From the state level, then it covers your county and city level. So it's a very extensive database of what it covers and what it checks. There's not much there. The only thing the background check leaves out is mental health. The argument that many people have when it comes to that is the HIPAA violation. Now, my argument with that, with the HIPAA thing, is this: is that HIPAA, yeah, it's a good thing because you don't want all your information everywhere. But the fact that this is being used to keep, let's say, someone who is mentally ill, mentally unstable from being able to purchase a firearm is not a bad thing. And plus, it's safe on their level also, because it's going to keep someone from being able to harm themselves also. Do I believe